Welcome student to this part where we will discuss higher derivative. What do we mean by higher derivative? So far we have seen the first, we will call it the first derivative. We just saw the word derivative, but this time this y prime, or sometimes we write it dy by dx or f prime, this is only the first derivative. We can go ahead and find again the derivative. So y double prime, it means we do derivative 2 times. Y power 3 or y triple prime, it's the third derivative, and starting from the fourth and the fifth and the sixth, we just write it like a power but between 2 brackets. So just keep yourself familiar with the notation y prime, y double prime, y triple prime. Before we do and find higher derivative, it's important for us to review the derivative rules. Now, we have seen all those rules. If we have a number in front of the function, we just find the derivative of the function. If we have two functions and we add them, we just find derivative of first plus derivative of second. We have the product rule, which says that derivative of first times second plus first times derivative of second. We have the quotient rule, which is given by this whole formula here. And finally, we have the chain rule, which is if we have function that is inner and outer, we find derivative of the outer, we keep the inner, and then we find the derivative of the inner. As well as the usual rule of derivative of a constant is 0, derivative of x is 1, derivative of square root is 1 over 2 square root, derivative of 1 over x is negative 1 over x squared. We have the power rule, something to the power of n, the n will goes down and we subtract 1. Ex is ex, ekx is kex, and ax is ax ln a. Now, I think we are ready to tackle the first question. In the first question, we need to find d4 by dx4. If we write it in that way, this means we need to find the derivative 4 times. So let's see the derivative 4 times. We will start with the first derivative, which is 3e3x plus 3x squared. And remember, this one has no x, so the derivative is 0. Now, next level, let me just use another color so that we don't mix them up. Second derivative, this 3, we will keep it, so it will be 3 times the derivative of this one. Again, it is a 3e3x plus 6x. So the final answer here is 9e3x plus 6x. Next, we'll do y triple prime. The 9 will stay. What is the derivative of e3x? It is 3e3x. Derivative of 6x is just 6. So the final answer is 27 e3x plus 6. And finally, y power 4, or the fourth derivative, will be 27 times 3e3x. Remember the derivative of this one. Plus, of course, 0, we don't write it. So the final answer is 81 e3x. And that's the fourth derivative. So you can see that what we did here is just a recap of what we did before. Derivative, 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 until we find the final answer. Example number 2, we need to find the second derivative, but here we have to use the product rule. So first step, we find the first derivative. Now for the product rule, it says that derivative of first times the second plus first derivative of the second. Now, what is the derivative of first? It is 4x cubed. What is the derivative of the second? Is x. Ex is just ex. Now, when you need to find the second derivative, again, you have to use the product rule, but this time twice. So just let me write a plus here. Let me do the first one first. So here you have to find derivative of first times the second plus 4x cubed derivative of second. So what I did is actually I used the product rule for this one. Now, what is the derivative of this one? You write it here. Derivative of this one, you write it here. Now, derivative of ex is just ex. That's simple. What is the derivative of 4x cubed? This will be 12x squared. Plus, now you have to repeat the same thing here. So you will have derivative, and then you have. Now, the one with the white, it will be x4ex. Now, what's the derivative of 4x cubed? It is 4x cubed, and derivative of ex is just ex. And that's the second derivative. So this question, we use the product rule 2 times each. Of course, there is another smarter way by taking this as common factor. This is another way or alternative way, but now let's just follow the rule as is. Example number 3, we need to find the fourth derivative of e power 5x. The first derivative is 5e 5x. Second derivative will be 5, and now the derivative of e power 5x again is 5ex. So we get 25e 5x. Next, y double prime, 25, and then we find the derivative, which will be this one. So it will be 125e 5x. Final answer is y power 4. It will be just, we multiply 125, the derivative will be 5e 5x. So the answer will be 325e 5x. It's just finding the derivative many times. Keep this in mind while we solve the question. Example number 2, we need to find the third derivative of this function. Before I solve this question, let me rewrite it using this formula. And if we use the chain rule, this will be the outer function, and the inner function will be 1 plus 2x. That would give me an easier time to find the derivative. Now, what's the derivative of something to the power of minus 1? Minus 1 will go down, and we subtract 1. So we should get minus negative 2. The inner function, you don't really do anything with it. Just now keep the derivative of this one, which will be just 2. So finally, the final answer will be negative 2, 1 plus 2x. The next derivative, again, you have to use the chain rule. Keep negative 2 waiting and use the chain rule. What is the derivative of power negative minus 2? Minus 2 will go down and we subtract 1. So this will be just negative 2, negative 3. The inner will be the same. And we just multiply by derivative of the inner. Now, if we combine all those numbers, it will be 8, 1 plus, sorry, let me just again do it with green color, 2x to the power of minus 3. Next step, you have power of negative 3, take it down and subtract 1 out of it. So it will be y 1, 2, 3 equal to 8. And then we multiply it by negative 3 to the negative 4, 1 plus 2x, and then we multiply by the derivative, which is just 2. Now, if we combine this to the final answer, will be negative 48, 1 plus 2x negative 4. And that's the third derivative we are looking for. Next question, we need to find the seventh derivative of x power 6. So we need to find the first derivative, which is 6x power 5. Next, we need to find the second derivative, so it will be 30x power 4. We need to find now the next derivative, which is the third one, which will be 120x power 3. Now, the fourth derivative will be 360x squared. The fifth derivative will be 2 times, because remember 2 will go down, it will be 720 just x. Now the sixth derivative will be just 720. And finally, the seventh derivative, which I'm looking for, will be 0 because there is no x, so the final answer is 0. You see, sometimes just you need to find derivative. It will help you enhance your skills in finding the derivative, by the way, once you practice more and more of those questions. Okay, let's see this question. We need to find y power 6, which is the sixth derivative, and I have the fourth derivative. So the first step, I need to find what will be the fifth derivative. After that, we will find the sixth derivative. Now, how do we find the fifth derivative? We take this one and we find the derivative. Here we will use the product rule. So it will go as follows. Derivative of first, which is 1, times the second, and touch. This is the second and touch. Plus first times this derivative of second. What's derivative of second? It is derivative of negative 2x plus 1 times the derivative of the inside, which is 1. Which if we write it down, it will be just x plus 1 negative 1. And then we will have minus x plus 1 negative 2. Next step, we need to find y power 6. So this will be negative x plus 1 negative 2 times the derivative of the inner 1 minus, and here you have to use the product rule once again. So derivative of x times the second plus first times the derivative of the second. What is the derivative of power minus 2? It will be minus 3x plus 1 times the derivative of the inside, which is 1. If we try to simplify this one, this will be x plus 1 to the power negative 2 minus x plus 1 to the negative power 2. And then we have plus 2x plus 1 to the negative of 3. Of course, the first two, we can join them. So we get 2x plus 1 negative 2 plus 2x plus 1 negative 3. And that's the example number 4. Example number 5. You have y is this one. We need to find the rate of change of y prime. Let me just write it down. You need to find rate of change of y prime. And this means we need to find y double prime. So in order to find y double prime, we need to find y prime and then y double prime. So just let me write it down here, is y double prime. Now I cannot find y double prime directly, so I will find y prime. Y prime is 72x minus 18x squared plus 1. And finally, I need to find y double prime, which will be 72 minus 36x. And now you substitute 1 to this function. Now if you substitute 1, this will be just 36. And that's the example number 5.